right? This is just a continuation of my excitement about all the studies about anxiety that are just so cool, all right? Because they tell us so much about what we really do know about CBD, even though everyone likes to say we don't know. Oh, it needs to be studied, this and that. If you went back and watched part 1, I just at the end went through a study that said CBD has a promising, has an excellent safety what was the word? Let me say it again to make sure I'm not, has an adequate safety profile in young people with treatment-resistant anxiety disorders. I would say my own personal opinion. I'm sure I can, when I do my safety video, I will find all the ones that say actually has a very good to excellent safety profile. But let's get in there that this is absolutely adequate for young people. That's a high bar. CBD has a promising role as an alternative therapy in the management of anxiety disorders. CBD has anxiety-reducing properties in human volunteers submitted to a stressful situation. It is great for stress. This is what these studies find. This is what our customers find. This is what I find. This is a truth for a large portion of people who use it. It's not just a few people this works for. These studies, my customers, my experience, this works for almost everyone. You do have to dose it right for yourself. That's the hard thing. Current evidence indicates the CBD has considerable potential as a treatment for multiple anxiety disorders. This is what, 2015? We've actually had a lot more research. A lot of the research is a lot newer, and we know that we can go beyond considerable potential, but that it can, as we said in some of those earlier studies from part 1, it can and does reduce anxiety. Current evidence suggests that CBD has the ability to reduce psychotic anxiety and withdrawal symptoms. That it has this ability. It suggests, so we're being a little more mild here, but there's more on the psychosis end too. How incredible. The kinds of drugs people are on for hallucinations and psychosis are very rough on the system. What if you could just take CBD? Schizophrenics lose their lives. What if the CBD just works? I mean, there's a lot of reason to think that might be true. Effects of cannabidiol in neuropsychiatric disorders. A review of preclinical and clinical findings. And again, it does find benefit. It says anxiety-reducing properties of CBD were reported in social anxiety disorder, antipsychotic effects in schizophrenia, and anti-addictive qualities in alcohol and drug addictions. And then it says we need larger studies. But again, this is a problem because it's the pharmaceutical companies that can afford to fund those. Universities often even can't. It usually has to be funded by the pharma companies, and they're not going to fund this because they can't patent it. Effects of orally administered cannabidiol on neuroinflammation and intestinal inflammation. And we will do one on that as well. But neuroinflammation, a lot of people, and I'm subscribed to the idea that anxiety and depression is an inflammation of the brain. So when you can take down that neuroinflammation, which CBD does for you, you're going to have a better response to the stresses and the everyday happenings of your life. Evaluating cannabidiol expectancy effects. Now, cannabidiol, let me be clear, is specifically CBD. It's not THC. That's what we're talking about here. Cannabidiol expectancy effects on acute stress and anxiety in healthy adults. Conclusions. Yes, it was positive. Expectancy-related factors were implicated in anxiolytic, which means, reduced anxiety effects of CBD for those who believed it would be helpful. We need to see more about how that would go. Oh, well, you know what? This isn't a great one. I might cut that out. This is if you think CBD will work, it will work better for you. But you know what? That's true for anyone. That's called the placebo effect. So we're going to, maybe we leave it in, maybe we scratch it, but just know all it's saying is what's true of any drug. If you expect it to work, it'll work. This isn't a drug, but it's true of anything. Features of CBD make it an attractive novel therapeutic option in COVID-related post-traumatic stress symptoms. How interesting. I actually wonder, a lot of doctors are using it in long-haul COVID. A lot of doctors are using it in to recover people if they had reactions to either the treatments for COVID or COVID itself. So they're saying that it might be the post-traumatic stress is helping, but other people are suggesting it's physically helping with long-haul COVID as well. But again, back to the trauma, that's the point of this video. Preliminary clinical trials also support the efficacy of CBD as an anxiolytic, antipsychotic, and antidepressant. So in other words, it is working to reduce anxiety, psychosis, and in this case, depression as well. Yet again, we have it again. It does support it. Now they have to call it a preliminary clinical trial, so we'll respect that. It's not the massive pharma one, but you know what? These matter. These always used to be good enough. I don't know when they started saying they weren't. Some of these are the gold standard in that they're randomly controlled trials as well. There's a lot of gold standard kind of stuff here, maybe just not big enough to be what they want it to be now. Those are so expensive. Prolonged CBT treatment appears to have promising therapeutic effects for improving psychological symptoms and cognition in regular cannabis users. I find this interesting. We do not really, our THC levels are probably in there, but they're undetectable. They're not going to affect your system in any negative way. But if it's high levels of THC, as in regular cannabis, some people really do have psychological and cognitive effects from that. And CBD helps reverse and restore that. The anxiolytics, again, anxiety-reducing effects of cannabidiol in chronically stressed mice are mediated by the endocannabinoid system. So it's saying that the endocannabinoid system, the system inside ourselves that regulates all of our homeostasis systems, all of the systems that need to be in balance, sleep, wake, circulation, right, respiration, they're all modulated by the endocannabinoid system, which in itself is modulated by CBD. So it's just explaining this is how it works. This is how these things make a difference. Two more. The results indicate that CBD could be a useful option to treat social anxiety. And that was just a nice study. And it found that 37 teenagers received CBD or placebo, and that it was significantly better in the CBD group than in the placebo group. It's a small study, but it's real good information because, again, it's a controlled trial. Finally, this reviews the literature demonstrating the anxiety-reducing effects of cannabidiol. So this is back in 2017, but it's yet another review to show that there were even then quite a lot of studies that put together are very convincing. And how did they end this abstract here? The findings suggest that cannabidiol reduces the expression of drug memories acutely, and by disrupting their reconsolidation. Oh, here we go. Here we review the literature demonstrating the anxiolytic effects of cannabidiol. So again, before fear and drug memory processes. Okay, so also that the memories, the trauma memories are modulated, are mitigated, are made less stressful, and probably even remembered a little less clearly or vividly or in such a trauma-like manner. So that's it. Those are the studies I already have. I mean, I'm sure there's probably more, but these are the ones that I know about that I have looked into and I have read or at least looked over every one of these to sort of assess how I think that customers can be treated and how they can use CBD to hopefully help them and help myself at times with anxiety related issues. There's a lot there. I just think it's cool. I think it's exciting. I really like studies that are well done. And I actually like the smaller ones better because they tend to have no conflict of interest. No one's funding this who needs this to be true. These smaller studies are where I find the truth, because this is some researcher somewhere who says, at a university probably, I think this might be true. I have this hypothesis that CBD is going to reduce anxiety. And so they find some funding by some other really interested people, and they go and they look at it. It's so much better than these massive studies funded by the pharma companies, where I mean, I think it's pretty clear that they're not going to publish a negative result. So if those people want their stuff to be published, that drug better do what in the study what the pharmaceutical company wanted it to do. um, that's what we that's a pretty clear conflict of interest, and yet that's how it's done most of the time. So the fact that there's so many studies done by just interested people, I mean, even that speaks to its power, the power of CBD. It must be really getting a lot of people's attention, because it's not easy to fund even these smaller studies. It's not easy to carry them out and make sure that they get published. You really have to work at it. And yet here they are. So anyway, I hope that's helpful for those of you who have anxiety. I'd love any questions on this that you might find in your head come up for you. Please post them below. And I hope that this is helpful. You have a wonderful day. All right, I'll try to be back tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.